actually threaten the press to not talk about that? Blake Lively has had a history of being with her co-stars. Maybe she was trying to hook up with Justin or use that, because it does seem to be something that she's done before.
Blake Lively is in a complete meltdown after being exposed for threatening the press to hide her endless scandals, as her flawless Hollywood image begins to crumble following the cheating drama with Ryan, while the internet relentlessly digs into her past to ensure nothing remains hidden.
It's hard when it's in the public eye and people have questions and they're seeing a fuzzy timeline.
In a desperate attempt to control the damage, she's only making things worse, and at this stage, even her PR team might be searching for an escape route.
I don't trust you, Blake. I do not trust you. You have lied too much. You have fudged truths. You are trying to hide so much information that you are like your character in a simple favor, and I can't unsee it.
The way Blake Lively is spiraling has become impossible to ignore, as every attempted damage control only worsens the situation. She's desperately trying to manipulate the media narrative, but instead of silencing the scandals, she's attracting even more attention to them, and now the press is uncovering exactly what she wanted to keep hidden.
It does sound like she's over-exaggerating.
The lawsuit with Justin Baldoni has already become a complete disaster, but what's even more humiliating is that she's now resorting to threatening journalists in an attempt to stop them from reporting the things she doesn't want the public to know.
You're complaining about privacy? Oh, this is such an important private matter. You were on Saturday Night Live letting your husband make a mockery of your whole thing. Oh, is there something that's going on? Yeah, there's something going on, and you shouldn't have been there.
For years, she built her career on the image of being Hollywood's golden girl, but that illusion is now falling apart because no amount of PR spin can hide what people are beginning to see for themselves. The scandal surrounding her marriage to Ryan Reynolds is only one piece of the puzzle, but once the public realized that their perfect couple image was nothing more than a carefully constructed lie, they started digging even deeper.
Met on Green Lantern, but during that phase of Green Lantern, which was, I guess, back in 2009, was when they were shooting this, or 2010, filming was March to August 2010, Ryan was married to Scarlett Johansson.
It turns out the love story she sold to the public was full of holes, because when she and Ryan first got together, he was still married to Scarlett Johansson, while she was publicly in a relationship with her Gossip Girl co-star Penn Badgley.
He was with Scarlett Johansson, and Blake was in a long-term relationship with Gossip Girl, Penn Badgley, right, Kim?
Mm-hmm.
They always insisted their relationship began only after they were both single, but old reports suggest otherwise, including one from a journalist who claimed that Blake and Ryan secretly met in a New Orleans hotel room while he was still married. That story was reportedly ready for publication until their PR team stepped in and shut it down before it could cause any damage.
So there's two different narratives, but specifically what Ryan and Blake's narrative is, they both were not in relationships. When they did get together, it was after the filming of Green Lantern.
Now that those old stories are resurfacing, she's panicking because the more people dig into her past, the worse her entire narrative appears. It's no longer just about a lawsuit, a cheating scandal, or a failing marriage, but about how she's been manipulating the media for years to maintain control over her public image.
And Ryan Reynolds hooked up when Ryan Reynolds was still married to ScarJo and holed up in a NOLA hotel room during the Green Lantern. Us Weekly had discovered this, and their beauty editor would tell us this at events and about how Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively's team's threats squashed the story.
And that is exactly why she's threatening the press, because she knows that if even one major outlet decides to publish the full story, it won't stop with Justin Baldoni. It will expose everything: the cover-ups, the PR strategies, the lies, and the way she's manipulated Hollywood's media machine to shape her own reality.
Is this possible?
The biggest problem she's facing is that this isn't the early 2000s anymore, and the days when celebrities could silence journalists with a few threats or strategic PR moves are long gone. Social media has completely changed the game, and reporters are no longer afraid of being blacklisted because they know the public will back them for exposing the truth.
Employees and agents that are all speaking with press outlets directly, trying to make sure there's good stories about their client, or blocking potential stories about their client.
The harder she fights to keep things buried, the more obvious it becomes that she has something to hide, and at this point, it's no longer a question of whether the truth will come out. It's simply a matter of who will be the first to expose it all.
of PR. And I think that's part of why this whole Justin Baldoni story is so fascinating. It's just because people are really getting a behind the scenes look at the reality of PR.
For someone who has spent her career crafting an image of effortless charm, she now comes across as desperate because this isn't just about a single legal battle. The real issue is that people are finally seeing past the polished PR stories and realizing none of it was ever real. The marriage with Ryan Reynolds, the carefully curated Hollywood power couple persona, the perfectly timed media appearances, it was all a game. And now the rules have changed.
He's clearly happier and moved on with Colin Jost here. But just odd now that it's all come around with Ryan showing up to her new husband's place of work to crack jokes about his current wife's SH allegations. You just can't make this stuff up.
Ryan is out there cracking jokes on Saturday Night Live as if his entire personal life isn't in chaos. But the public isn't laughing. Instead of easing the situation, his comedy bit has made things worse, because now people are questioning why he seems so at ease making light of a scandal that's supposedly destroying his wife's reputation.
She did specifically reflect on her relationship with Reynolds. And I mean, props to her for keeping it classy and keeping things private. You know, like, I think she did an incredible job with that, maneuvering this. This was such a big deal.
Blake Lively has spent years mastering the art of image control, but now, as the walls begin closing in, she's taking it a step further by directly threatening the press. Hollywood PR cover-ups are nothing new, but what makes this situation different is the aggression behind it. She's no longer just trying to steer the narrative. She's attempting to silence it entirely, and in a city like New York, where journalists thrive on scandal and would sell their souls for a headline, that's an impossible battle to win.
We really go through it. Blake Lively has had a history of being with her co-stars.
It's true.
That's what's being alleged.
And now it's becoming clear that Blake has a pattern that stretches back long before Ryan. Penn Badgley, her Gossip Girl co-star, was the first in a series of high-profile actors she was romantically linked to.
I mean, obviously, as we know with Penn Badgley, Ryan Reynolds.
They began dating in 2007, just as Gossip Girl was taking off, and were photographed together just enough to keep the media obsessed. But when their relationship ended in 2010, things became suspicious. Penn later admitted in an interview that the breakup was sudden, and sources from the Gossip Girl set claimed Blake immediately distanced herself from him, as if something behind the scenes had shifted overnight.
There was talk about Leonardo DiCaprio. Here's the sort of the dating history. Go Leonardo DiCaprio. The rumors were that Blake Lively was up for The Great Gatsby, and then hooked up with Leo, but then didn't ultimately get the part, and then didn't stay with Leo, is what the rumors are.
Then came Leonardo DiCaprio in May 2011, just months after her split from Penn. Blake was suddenly photographed with DiCaprio on a yacht in Cannes, and the timing was odd, especially since The Great Gatsby casting rumors were still circulating. Reports from that period suggested Blake had been in talks for the role of Daisy Buchanan, but after her brief yet highly publicized romance with DiCaprio ended, the part went to Carey Mulligan instead. Was it mere coincidence, or had she attempted to leverage a relationship for career advancement?
Was she with Ryan Gosling? That's I guess she wasn't in a movie with him.
Spotted on a few dates.
Allegedly. I mean, who wouldn't want to go on a few dates with him? Penn, but yeah, and then this, yes, they were in Sister of the Traveling Pants.
Her next link was Ryan Gosling, and once again, the timing was suspicious. In October 2010, while still working on Green Lantern, she was reportedly seen on multiple dates with Gosling, with paparazzi capturing them at Disneyland and sources describing them as flirty and affectionate. This was before she was publicly associated with Ryan Reynolds, yet by December 2010, rumors suddenly pegged her as Reynolds' new love interest. Once again, a supposed romance with a co-star ended just as she appeared to pursue another, bigger name.
Multiple people here that she seemingly does. And I'm not throwing shade. It isn't my business. It sets a potential precedent that, yeah. And it's why a lot of us during the It Ends With Us story, like, maybe she was trying to hook up with Justin or use that, because it does seem to be something that she's done.
Then came the relationship that changed everything. Ryan Reynolds. The way their PR teams rewrote history was almost impressive. When Ryan and Blake officially debuted as a couple in October, their story was meticulously crafted. Two friends reconnecting after filming Green Lantern, falling in love on a double date with others, and marrying a year later. But insiders knew the truth. Journalists had already caught wind of their hotel rendezvous in New Orleans, the same one reportedly shut down by PR before U.S. Weekly could publish it. The effort to erase that chapter of their history was extensive, and the fact that their relationship has always appeared suspiciously drama-free is no accident.
A Reddit thread from a Colleen Hoover fan group that was written 6 months ago is going viral today because in it, an insider who spoke to somebody who worked on the movie predicted a lot of the stuff that ended up happening.
And now, with the Justin Baldoni lawsuit revealing how Blake operates behind closed doors, people are questioning whether she attempted the same strategy again. By the time the lawsuit made headlines in early 2025, a Whisper network was already predicting that something was off about It Ends With Us.
A lot of the stuff that this person predicted came true because it was written so long ago. So what does that mean? Was this part of Justin's smear campaign where someone was trying to put some stuff out there? Or was this someone who actually worked on the film? Because some of this stuff seems to imply, yeah, they clearly knew what they were talking.
What no one anticipated was that a Reddit post from August 2014 had already outlined the entire scandal months before it blew up. The post, written by an anonymous user claiming inside knowledge from someone on the film, detailed exactly how Blake Lively would use sexual harassment allegations as a power move to get what she wanted.
Blake wanted to do her version of the movie as a result, but Sony said no. Now, that's an interesting new one because I didn't know Justin didn't like his first editors, so they're both sort of competing. This is something I've heard in multiple other sources and people that neither of them are really good at editing this movie, it turns out.
And then everything unfolded exactly as described. According to multiple sources, including leaked set conversations, Blake Lively had been frustrated with Justin Baldoni from the beginning. The two had creative differences, with Blake pushing for a different tone and direction than what Justin, as the film's director, envisioned. But it wasn't just clashing visions, it was about control. Blake demanded final say over the edit, something Sony refused to grant, and that's when everything took a turn.
Supposedly, Blake felt that Justin made her uncomfortable on set. One instance in particular, they said, was that Justin told Blake she looked sexy in what she was wearing on set. I don't know the context around it, but yes, that proved true.
Blake allegedly complained about feeling uncomfortable around Justin Baldoni, but it didn't end there. A key moment occurred when Justin commented on how she looked sexy in an outfit on set, something that initially caused no major issues, with no formal complaint or HR involvement. But months later, that same moment was suddenly being used as a cornerstone of Blake's sexual harassment allegations.
Blake goes to Sony and threatens to go to New York Times with a story that says Justin was SHing her on set if they don't let her have her own version.
What made it even more suspicious was how Blake deployed the accusation, not through an official filing or HR, but as leverage in a business negotiation. According to the Reddit insider leak, Blake Lively directly threatened Sony executives, saying she would go to the New York Times with the claim unless they granted her full creative control over the movie.
In some ways, it feels like, yeah, we've seen Justin already allude to that in his stuff. Now, if Sony has sort of proof of that, and Sony knows this, and they still haven't really spoken up and been like, what's going on? Then shame on Sony.
And Sony caved immediately. With the hashtag #MeToo movement still wielding massive influence in Hollywood, no studio wanted to risk siding with a male director over a high-profile actress making a sexual harassment claim. It didn't matter that Justin Baldoni had never faced any prior accusations. The threat alone was enough.
Sony's probably stuck on like, well, what do we do? She's coming to us with a employee complaint, what have you. We can't just go assume she's lying. And maybe they are waiting to sort of see, well, let's see the evidence. Let's see if you can prove it, Blake. Sony freaked out, though, allegedly, and says, okay, whatever you want.
Within weeks, Sony had banned Justin from the studio lot, effectively removing him from the project he had been attached to from the very beginning. And just like that, Blake got exactly what she wanted: full control over the film.
Justin's then banned from the Sony lot, so they picked their side right away, allegedly.
But the cracks in her story quickly began to show. For starters, the timeline was messy. The alleged incident with Justin had occurred months before she chose to use it as a bargaining chip. No formal complaint had been filed at the time, and insiders from the set offered contradictory accounts, with some saying they never saw any tension between Blake and Justin, while others claimed the situation was being blown out of proportion.
Now, Justin's innocent until proven guilty. Source, trust me, bro. What with I've seen Justin's character and the way he has gone about promoting the gravity of DV, I have doubts that he would demean Blake in such a manner. Well, we know now she was using that word too. What's wrong with that? If that look makes you look sexy, I don't think that's SH personally. I don't.
Then there was Sony's silence. Normally, when a studio takes swift action over a sexual harassment claim, they issue statements reaffirming their commitment to protecting employees. But in this case, Sony said nothing. They banned Justin, handed control to Blake, and refused to comment publicly on the situation. Even more telling, Justin Baldoni never admitted to any wrongdoing, and his team immediately pushed back against the allegations, something that rarely happens when the accused knows they're guilty. His lawyers framed the entire situation as a clear abuse of power on Blake's part, a strategic move to push him out of the movie and seize control.
Blake hires Taylor Swift's music video editors to do her version while she's filming in Italy for something. Blake has a friends and family screening to get thoughts with a lot of A-listers, Ben Affleck, Bradley Cooper, I think, etc., etc. Everyone was like, huh? This movie makes no effing sense.
And the final piece of the puzzle came when Blake's version of the film turned out to be a disaster. With Justin removed from the project, Blake took over post-production, hiring her own editors, including Taylor Swift's music video team, and reworking large portions of the movie. Reaction from top-tier Hollywood insiders was brutal. Ben Affleck, Bradley Cooper, and other A-listers who attended the screening were reportedly baffled by the film's direction, with one insider saying, "It makes no sense."
Realizes she needs to hire an experienced film editor to fix it. Blake uses a Taylor Swift song in the movie that the studio loves having in there. I do believe that. And she was absolutely using that song as a way to get control. We're learning that from Justin's suit, I think, as well.
By that point, the Justin Baldoni allegations were no longer just a legal matter. They had become a full-blown Hollywood scandal. Had Blake lively weaponized a serious accusation to gain control over a film, only to completely botch the project once in charge? The industry was divided, but one thing was clear. Blake's tactics were no longer working in her favor.
Taylor Swift finds out that the original composer for the movie is someone she worked with in the past that was mean to her, and she says it's either me or him.
Blake Lively's legal battle with Justin Baldoni is messy enough on its own, but now another layer has emerged that no one anticipated: Taylor Swift's deep involvement in the situation. On the surface, Taylor and Blake's friendship has always been highly publicized through seemingly harmless Instagram posts, vacation pictures, and even name-dropping Blake's kids in one of her songs. But as this lawsuit unfolds, it's becoming clear that Taylor played a far larger role than she's letting on.
He fires that composer to keep the Taylor Swift song. That's everything I know. Now, again, this second half's more about the edit, and honestly, it does sound a little believable.
That's why, instead of hiring an experienced film editor, Blake brought in Taylor Swift's music video editing team, the same people who had worked on Swift's elaborate, high-budget album visuals. The move immediately raised eyebrows, as Swift's editors specialize in stylized music videos, not feature films. They had no prior experience handling the complexities of full-length narratives, yet Blake handed them full control of her re-edit.
There's kind of a vagueness. Now, that still could be Team Justin trying to muddy the waters. If you're putting out some sort of a campaign to do that, you want to throw little random seeds everywhere and just have people get distracted and just go all over the place. And then put us, oh, Taylor Swift. Let's make it really all about Taylor Swift. So look, there is a version of this thread that I could see maybe was planted by somebody. But there's a lot of stuff in here that's true.
Shortly after the disastrous private screening, Blake forced the studio to fire the film's original composer, a decision that immediately raised red flags. The composer had already completed a significant portion of the score, and there was no logical reason to remove them so late in post-production. Insiders quickly connected the dots. Taylor Swift had a personal issue with this composer from a past project and wasn't going to allow Blake to keep them on the film. Industry sources claim Taylor delivered a direct ultimatum: either fire the composer or she would pull her song from the soundtrack. Sony, already desperate to salvage the film, caved without hesitation. The original composer was fired, and Blake restructured the music using elements more in line with Taylor's style.
But it sounds pretty damn accurate. So what? Either way, I look at this and I go, this is strange. Now, interestingly enough, there were some more comments by this user. Now here back even then, 6 months ago, smells like Blake's team. I think this looks just as bad on Blake, to be honest. Leveraging an SH PR nightmare so you can get your way is gross behavior regardless of what Justin said.
Now this raises a major question. Was Taylor Swift actively helping Blake manipulate the situation, or was she merely protecting her own interests without seeing the bigger picture? Blake Lively's desperation to control the narrative has reached an entirely new level after successfully pushing Justin Baldoni out of his own film, manipulating Sony into granting her full control, and allegedly using sexual harassment allegations as leverage. One would think she'd be satisfied. But with every new report exposing the behind-the-scenes chaos, Blake has realized she can no longer control the press, and she's now targeting YouTubers, bloggers, and journalists in an attempt to silence independent voices.
Again, negotiating and using an SH allegation to win an argument, that's about as deplorable as it gets. Justin may have said some dumb things, whatever. Nothing that's in the lawsuit even pales in comparison to over-exaggerating and faking potentially an SH claim to take control of a movie. That's as villainous as it gets.
The moment she lost control over Sony executives, she redirected her threats toward online content creators.
Wait, Blake Lively's attorneys are coming after us content creators now? You cannot be serious. Also, did you guys...
Her legal team is now actively going after YouTubers and independent journalists who report anything even remotely supporting Justin Baldoni's claims. This isn't speculation. It's already happening in real time.
That's similar misleading accusations. Compare Opposition 1 with Perez Hilton. Blake Lively asked judge for stronger protective order to keep Justin Baldoni suit details private after receiving violent messages. They go to there. They are really trying to keep the evidence out of the public eye, it would seem.
Perez Hilton, one of the most notorious gossip bloggers in the industry, publicly revealed that he's being accused of parting ways with her narrative, meaning Blake's team is actively trying to discredit anyone who reports unfavorably on her.
Owens also gets in there. Last night we all slept, blah, 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 protective order. The guilty as sin couple is asking a judge to protect from the public some confidential documents and names gathered in the discovery process.
And Perez isn't the only one. Candace Owens, who has been relentlessly covering the lawsuit, has also been named in legal discussions as someone supposedly spreading misinformation. But the problem is, she isn't spreading misinformation at all. She's simply reporting on court documents, leaked text messages, and insider reports that Blake herself made public. If Blake's own legal filings make her look bad, that's not misinformation. That's self-inflicted damage.
Embraced by the opposition through this manufactured echo chamber by itself provides ample justification for a protective order that establishes adequate protections for third-party privacy. You've done nothing. All of this information that you just put out there, somehow Perez Hilton, who I don't believe for a second they're working with, did you read your own complaint?
The timeline is impossible to ignore. Blake's team hand-delivered private messages between Justin and his PR team to major media outlets, pushing a carefully crafted narrative that he was controlling and inappropriate on set. She wanted the world to see his private conversations, until it backfired. Now, with Justin's team countering those claims with additional private messages, production notes, and insider testimonies, Blake suddenly doesn't want anyone peeking behind the curtain anymore.
His own team literally said Perez Hilton is worthless. Just because he's repped means now you have the thinnest conspiracy theory thread that you've connected everything. And now Candace Owens, who's not a client of Brian, says something related because it's all from the legal responses that we are deducing with our own minds, Blake.
Legal experts following the case have already highlighted the glaring contradiction. If a judge allows Blake to hide certain details under confidentiality agreements while Justin's side is expected to continue fighting in the public eye, it would set a dangerous precedent. At this point, the judge is likely losing patience with the endless stalling tactics employed by Blake's legal team.
Anyone else seeing the gaslighting from Blake and Ryan, constantly trying to just wave things that we've seen with our own minds and pretend like they didn't happen? It's truly maddening.
But Blake's real nightmare isn't just the court case. It's that the public is no longer buying her act. Everything she's done to control the media narrative has backfired. And now, with her attempts to shut down YouTubers, bloggers, and journalists, the public backlash has only intensified. Every time she tries to hide details, people begin asking, what is she really afraid of?
Because someone else did, because we read the documents and came away with the same takeaway, all things must be private? I mean, make that make sense. Make that make sense. It doesn't. It doesn't make any damn sense.
The mainstream media may have been easy to control in the past. She and Ryan successfully buried their original cheating scandal for over a decade, but social media is a different battlefield. The more she tries to suppress information, the more determined people become to expose it, and that's exactly what's happening. The press isn't backing down. If anything, they're digging deeper. The harder Blake fights to keep details under wraps, the more people assume she has something to hide. At this point, she's not just losing in court, she's losing the battle of public perception, and in Hollywood, that's one thing no amount of PR can fix. But this saga is far from over, because who knows what Blake will do next. If you don't want to miss the next twist, hit subscribe below and stay locked in.